So should you convert your case to a Chapter 7? Ooh, get this on a daily basis. And first of all, if you weren't eligible to file a Chapter 7 when you filed your Chapter 13, you cannot convert your case. You have to let your case dismiss, and then you can file a brand new spanking Chapter 7. So heads up on that. So if you weren't eligible when you filed, you're not going to be eligible when enough time has passed to convert. You would have to let the case dismiss and file. So that's number one. Number two, do you have assets that have equity in them? Because if you do, and you convert to Chapter 7, you may lose those assets. They may get sold. If you have a car that you were financing in a Chapter 13 case, there's a good chance that you are not current on the car because the car loan is being restructured in a Chapter 13 in a different payment structure than what you signed up for, 99.9% of the time. So if you convert your case to Chapter 7, you're probably going to be behind on your car. Now, I cannot tell you what a random third-party creditor, what their policy is going to be at the time that you convert your case. Some of the creditors may be like, okay, we'll just pick back up the payments. Here's a reaffirmation agreement. You can keep your car. Other creditors are like, nope, got to be current or we're going to come get the car. And that's it. There's nothing I can do about that in a Chapter 7. This is why people file 13, so they can have control over it. But if you convert your case to a Chapter 7 and you cannot get your car current, usually in about 30 days from conversion, then be prepared to give it up. And that's it. That's the cold, hard truth. So if you're okay with that, cool. Now, the other thing you have to look at if you're going to try to convert your case to Chapter 7 is, do you even qualify? Because if you make too much money, you can't do a Chapter 7. It's not just about your assets, it's also about your income. So when you go to convert your case, you're going to have to provide updated pay stubs, and you're still going to have to be able to pass the means test. And you're still going to have to be able to show at the end of the day you really don't have more than like $140 left over. So if you can't show those things, you can't convert to Chapter 7. If you do convert to Chapter 7, the U.S. trustee will step in and they'll say, either this dismisses or you go back to 13. Those are your choices. So a lot of people convert to Chapter 7 for a lot of different reasons, and you may have a great one, but just be aware that it's not just so easy to willy-nilly convert to Chapter 7. Sometimes you just have to dismiss your Chapter 13 and deal with the fallout, and maybe later file another 13, or down the road, if you lose assets or if your income goes down, maybe then you can file a Chapter 7. But before you convert to a Chapter 7, you want to make sure, number one, that your assets don't get sold, that you can keep the assets that you're financing, and you have to make sure that you even qualify to file a Chapter 7 case. Because I think the number one thing I see from folks is they'll come to their attorney and they'll want to file a 7 and they can't because they've had a 7 like in the last maybe like 5 or 6 years. And you can only do Chapter 7 once every 8 years. So their thinking is, okay, well, I'll do the 13, I'll hang out in the 13, and then when I'm eligible, boop, I'll flip over to 7. Nope, doesn't work that way. So if that's your plan, your case is going to actually have to dismiss, and then when that 8 years has run since the last time you filed a Chapter 7 case, then you can file a Chapter 7 and get your, Chapter 7 discharge, but you still have to qualify. So, you're still going to have to make sure that your income from all sources. So if you got married, guess what? If you weren't married when you started, when you get married, now that your spouse's income, that comes into play. That's household income. Whether they like it or you like it, that's the law. So, you need to make sure that, before you do something rash like that, that you are confirming that you are even going to qualify. And again, don't forget, if you have pending lawsuits, if something happens since you filed your 13 and you've got a pending lawsuit, that's an asset. The Chapter 7 trustee can most definitely step in and claim, everything except what you can exempt from it. So there's a lot of mechanics that go into converting a case from Chapter 13 to Chapter 7. So just make sure that you know what the rules are before you do something that rash. And of course, speak to your attorney before ever doing something like that.